Good afternoon.
Hello, hello.
Oh, there's a little cross right here. That's so fun. And then
Isn't it fun? Um, yeah, we can recap the week, but there's literally zero things to recap. So I'm like, I'm fine to just jump into them. We can
I'm
just start.
always fine to just jump right in. So,
The summary of this week is essentially
calling me. Sorry, keep going.
the summary of this week is David finally went home in a very straightforward, extremely boring, could have been more exciting week.
Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back.
Alrighty, yeah. I forget what we said before. The recap of this week is David went home in a
Yeah.
very straightforward Dan HOH week, and there was nothing else to report. There was no campaigning, there was no consideration of another option, there was no close veto, like there was nothing. So we can just jump right in.
Hey, and
Yeah, Anthony, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I think we have really different opinions now that we just talked about it, to be honest.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Anthony, we see it in his DR, we see him talking with Maris and Victoria, like we see it. Anthony is like, damn, Dan really needs to go. And before this week started, he put out his ideal boot order that Haley went this week, and then Dan would follow right out the door. Unfortunately for Anthony, the triple was that shot because we saw this week in a season trivia veto, Dan blew everyone out of the water. And for me, with this upcoming week being the last week where there's no season trivia involved at all, this is the last week where you even have the opportunity to take a shot. And that's if your shot hits. After that, I really think that Dan can win out to the final three. Um,
And then the final
so
two.
I really think we're itching on it's too late. Um, Here's the positives though. Anthony does realize that Dan needs to go. Anthony has a lot of favor with the jury. They're really impressed. But I think there are people that are in better positions that are also have more favor with the jury. So, although David leaving for Anthony's game wasn't fantastic, it was definitely better than him losing Maris. Um, and he still does have some wiggle room, but like he, Maris, or Victoria need with a capital NEED need this HOH
Three
because
against two.
if they don't win it, Kristen is pushing to take a shot at Anthony and Vic. Haley wants to take a shot at Anthony and Vic. And Dan is considering it, although hesitant. I don't necessarily know if Maris automatically is just the next boot. So, and that's if Anthony decides not to take a shot at Haley. Like, in order to take Dan out, you
I
really need
think
to.
that he's gonna see. I think he's gonna, if he wins, I think he's gonna realize he's said it before. Haley's most likely not gonna win the game, and it would be stupid to take her out, even though she's gunning for him. Dan is just as likely to win competitions, even more,
I was gonna
and
say
Dan wins the game.
in the late game, it doesn't really, in my opinion, matter as much who's gunning for who. Because sure, Haley is guaranteed to put up Anthony and Victoria. I think as of this second, if she wins HOH, she'll put up Anthony and Victoria. It's like, guess what? If Dan won HOH, sure he could target Maris. Is he gonna put up Haley next to Maris? No, he's probably putting up you or Victoria. And at that point, you're in a similar position anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So pick up the person that's gonna win the game.
I
I
think
don't know if he's there yet. So I'm going to raise my score, but I'm only raising it to a 6, and I'm really
okay.
hesitant to go any higher than that.
That's also what I'm going to actually. Um, I really think that if he wins, he sees that Dan needs to go, and I think Victoria is there in his ear, and I think that Maris is there in his ear as well. It's 3 against 2 in this HOH, and I mean Haley's gonna be the one that they need to beat, to be honest. So
As I say, I'm pulling for Haley to win this. I won't lie, and I want her to put Anthony and Vic up on the block. Because listen, I we'll talk about Dan when we get to Dan. Oh, we're at Dan practically, but Dan and Kristen, like kudos, y'all are playing the damn game, and y'all deserve to win. And Anthony and Vic made a mistake, and I really am the person. I love to see karma come back and bite you in the ass. And I would love for Haley to win, and I would love for Haley to put up Anthony and Victoria, and I would love for Anthony to go out the door.
I don't necessarily agree that this was a game losing decision for Anthony.
I don't think it's guaranteed to be one, but I think it is very likely one.
I think that he was in a tricky position either way.
I won't deny he was in a tricky position, but I will deny that he chose to keep his biggest threat in a core 4 alliance where you're not his number 1. And you have another core 4 that you could rock with that you
But
beat
was
out.
someone guaranteed out to have a 50% chance to come back into the game?
Yes, but also if you have a shot at the final 7,
Anthony would be gone right now if Dan came back.
I don't necessarily agree.
I don't think he goes after David. You think Anthony and Victoria turn on Dan and Kristen? Dan wins Figure It Out. Dan comes back, wins Figure It Out. He doesn't put up Anthony and Victoria.
I think it's less likely that it's David and Maris noms, but I think David is still a huge target. David was the one to send him home.
But Dan is such a big, like, I'd rather play with the enemies I know than the enemies I don't. And
I mean, listen, we're arguing about theoreticals here. The concrete fact is he had a shot and he didn't take it, and there's no guarantee that he's ever gonna get it again.
To be honest, I think this is the shot right here.
He has to win.
And if he misses it, then that's really bad for him. Like if it doesn't happen, then that's really bad for him. But I don't think that week was the shot. I think right now is the shot. Or last week would have been.
We'll see. He has to win HOH, and currently, like, they're not the ones that I'd bet on to win this. So we'll see.
Okay. So Anthony's with a 6 this week. Dan.
Yeah. For me, I mean, I'm really impressed with Dan. Dan, granted, he was kind of given it on a silver platter this week, but he took out David. Great move for him. David absolutely was coming after Dan. I do worry that, like, possibly, in all honesty, I think Maris might have been the better move because David was not super high on working with Anthony after Anthony flipped on him, whereas Maris, I mean, we've seen her flip back. Maris is going to be a more loyal soldier for Anthony, and I think David could have been reasoned with. However, and we'll get to David. David just didn't care, so there was no argument to be made. This veto really solidified for me that, yeah, Dan is the one to beat right now.
Mm-hmm.
I currently actually don't think that he's the one playing the best, but he is really up there. And in terms of game start to finish, he's playing really good. And I think currently his odds to win the game are the best out of everyone here. Mm-hmm. So for that reason, I was at a 6 last week. I'm going to go up to an 8 this week.
I'm also going up to an 8. I was at a 7, but I'm going up to an 8 as well. Dan, we said this same, well, practically. Grace last season had all the odds stacked against her. Dan just needs to win one competition a week to win the game.
But listen, even if he doesn't, I think it's not like Grace where it's like we said, if Grace loses,
exactly. That's why I said
if Dan loses, he's
got options. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, especially that Scales of Just Us is different. I think he needs to make it through this week, which this week's going to be his hardest. He wins the veto at Final 5. He wins veto at Final 4. He wins Final HOH at 3. He wins the game.
The only thing I worry about slightly is he, for some reason, is like, has said that like Maris and Victoria are like the bigger threats to go after first before Anthony. And I'm like, bud, Anthony is your biggest shot to win the game. I hate to break it to you. And for some reason, you are so, I don't know if he thinks he's just that guaranteed the win, he's that good that like Anthony couldn't beat him, which, to be clear, I really don't think is the case. I do think that Dan has a lot of locked votes, but I think by the time, like, say it is Dan versus Anthony, I think Dan definitely has Matthew, Dan definitely has Cassidy, but Anthony definitely has Vic, Anthony has Maris. it's not a done deal. I do think it's unlikely that they are the final two, but the longer you leave Anthony in the game, I think the lesser Dan's chances get, even if it's only slightly less. It's a blind spot that he's not looking at, and other people are, and we'll get to them. But yeah, overall, very good.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, let's do this. I think, yeah. I would love to see Dan win this game after 7 seasons. Dan's line is so funny. Ooh. Anyway. Okay, David.
Um,
I am
I
slightly annoyed with him,
I
but
mean,
also,
I'll say, yeah, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off if you.
well, I cut you off initially, so you can go.
Um, I can just cut to the chase here. I am giving David a 1 this week. I can't give anything but a 1 to someone who actively chooses not even to compete in the veto when you're on the block, doesn't campaign at all. I understand that he's busy, and I sympathize with that, but like, you didn't even try at all. And I think like maybe he like overestimated how done he was. Like there was a lot of wiggle room that he had to stay, especially with the veto. It makes me sad because there's like these last couple of weeks we were really rooting for him to win. And then like literally he was just like, this week. And I'm like, okay.
With like less than a week left.
Exactly. There are 6 days left of the game. 1.
So I was starting off saying I am slightly annoyed with David, but also I kind of disagree. This week, I don't think there was much for him to do. I mean, obviously competing in the veto, but I guess he didn't know it when he decided not to.
Beating in the veto is something he could have done.
There was no way he was beating Dan, but he obviously didn't know that. But
I disagree based off of, I mean, I agree Dan had a really good time and Google Slides came into it. But the triple eviction HOH that he won, David knew those answers. David has notes.
I don't know. I definitely don't. I don't think he could have beaten Dan, but I think he could have given him a run for his money. He wasn't going to get Kristen's vote. It wasn't going to happen, in my opinion. So I know David is the type of person to be like, when I know I'm out, I'm not going to try and like make a fool of myself and like do something that's totally not going to work. Which like is that completely the right thing? I don't know, but I'm only going to go down to a 2 this week for David. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, even if he was like, even the argument, when I'm done in the water, I won't try and come up with some crazy plan. Great. You didn't even try to see if you were done in the water, though. Like, that's what, you didn't even say, like, hey, Kristen, I'm not going to pull off some crazy plan, but here are my points. I'm not with Anthony and Victoria. I clearly can't win competitions. I kept you safe last week. Truly, I have bigger fish to fry. What would you consider? And if Kristen was like, sorry, David, I'm really not considering it, like, great, then you're done in the water. But like none of that happened. And he didn't try in the veto. I'm just like, if like he physically didn't try the game this week. So I can't give him not a 1. So that's my logic.
Cool.
Haley. Haley is a really interesting case because here's the thing. With the current state of the game, I think she is an underdog to make it to the end. Unfortunately, the rankings now are very based on win equity as well. And I think Haley has very low win equity.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she's run into the same problem as she did last season, where her social game is just not it. Granted, she was on a boat, and she did just lose Alex and Riley.
And was out of the game for 6 weeks.
Exactly. So it's like this time, you know what? Not as much her fault, but still, only this time she doesn't have she doesn't really have anyone. Kristen is her person who has a better person. Here's what I'm hoping Haley's track record for the game is. I'm hoping Haley becomes the new Riley for Dan and Kristen, which I think she has. I really think she has. And I really hope, and we'll talk about Kristen, but I really hope that like I would love to see a Kristen Haley final two. And I love Haley to death, but I would love to see Haley there for her to lose. Just because Haley, I just hasn't if you are evicted and you come back into the game, you need to play a ruthless, balls to the walls, everything perfect game. And that just hasn't happened. I think if you get to the final two, there's a huge mark on you were evicted, let alone evicted twice.
Let
So
alone not here. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so like she is a I really think it's very unlikely that she's the winner of the season. But I think it's not super unlikely that she could make it to the end. So I am going to raise my score to a 4.
I agree. I'm not gonna go much. I can't go higher than a 4 because we're at the final 6 now, and oh my God, sorry. I just imagined a world where Haley and Maris for the final 2. That's not a world I want to live in. No offense to both of you.
I don't think that's a world that exists in the multiverse.
Well, there's only 6 people left. Let's not say that. Okay. Yeah, Haley. I'm kind of upset by the like I wish she really I mean, granted, she was first of all, I want to say this. She was on a cruise ship and still gave us everything she could, which I appreciate really love Haley. So much, so much. Because there are people who go out of town for the weekend and can't look at their phone. So someone who is on the ocean and
is paying
for text messages, like appreciate that so much. But I agree 100%. Like when you come back, you need to win. You need to do everything you can to make your mark because people will say you need to make up for the time that you were out of the game. People will say, "Oh, she wasn't even here for almost the entire pre-jury," and you need to make up for that time in the time that you're here. And I just like I don't think she did that. So it's kind of upsetting, but also like I would also love to see her make it to the final two to not to have her get second.
I would love to hear Haley's case because Dan keeps saying this, and it is true. There is only 1 week out of we're currently at what, week 12? Week 11, yeah, week 12. We're currently in week 12.
It's gonna be, yeah.
Of those 12 weeks, there is only 1 week where Haley wasn't either safe from a competition win or got evicted.
Got nominated. Well,
got evicted.
No. She voted for Cassidy and wasn't safe. And then she just voted for David and wasn't safe.
She didn't vote. Oh, no, she was safe in the Cassidy. She won the beach patrol.
No, she didn't.
No, she didn't. What? She won the veto. Sorry, she won the veto.
Oh yeah. And also she was nominated next to Riley too. Oh, and was evicted. Wait, never mind.
And she was evicted. Yeah, the vote for David, like this last week was the first time. So yeah, I'm really interested to hear her case. I
also like we started the summer with Haley. I would love to finish the summer with Haley too, you know?
I would love, I mean, a Kristen and Haley, a season 1 and a season 9, like that's cool. That's fun.
And then Kristen wins.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of Kristen.
Wait, I didn't do this yet, I don't think, did I? Oh. All right, you can start though.
Well, wait, go to the graph first.
Wait, hold on.
I don't want to flash back to the graph after.
Where are the freaking rankings? What did I do with them? Oh, I must have went to the wrong page. Hold on. Doo-doo-doo. Okay, Haley has a 4. Okay.
Kristen.
Slake.
Kristen Slake. Yeah. Kristen is currently the person that I want to see win this game most. She is consistently the person that uses the most amount of reasonable, logical thinking. She is the person that by far has the best social game right now. I mean, she's got Anthony and Victoria, and even if they decide to take the shot, they're taking the shot at Dan. She's got Dan by her side as her final two, and Dan's not wavering from that. She's got Haley by her side as truthfully Haley's only ally left in the game. And I think Kristen can really not control what Haley does, but like if Haley needs to talk to anyone about anything, she's going to Kristen. And that was due to her base patrol rankings, which Kristen said, like, what's a strategy? I'm ranking the people high that I don't have good relationships with, so I can like pull them in and start talking to them. Great. It really paid off here.
Mhm.
And then Maris, who outwardly said in her speech, was like, Kristen, I know we're not necessarily working together. However, I would love your vote. I'm transparently not coming after you, which I think is true. Kristen's aligned with everyone. Kristen is telling people to take the right shots. She sees that she needs Anthony out of this game. She sees it. She knows it. She knows that Maris is not going to be a threat to win. She knows that she could bring Haley. Why would we take a shot at Haley? She's saying all of the right things. The biggest obstacle, like with all of that being said, Kristen should have a 10 right now. Her biggest obstacles are one, again, Dan right now has played a flashier game. I
Mhm.
do think he's going to have a tough time beating Dan at the end.
She needs to cut him.
And the question is, when is she going to be able to beat him in the competition? And two,
I don't know.
exactly, I don't know. Because the shot for Kristen is say Kristen wins HOH, she should not cut Dan at 6.
I
Um,
wonder if she's able to beat him at 3.
she needs to win final 3 HOH. Like
Dan
that's
wins part 1, Kristen wins part 2. The crossword puzzle. And
um
then Kristen wins part 3.
we'll see.
She needs to study up though. I don't know how much she knows, but she needs to study up. She'd be
So
able to beat Dan in a season trivia.
yeah, literally. Okay, anyway. It's literally so that's obstacle 1. And obstacle 2 is the jury. I don't think is fully team Kristen right now. They're not like anti Kristen doesn't deserve to win, but like she's not in the conversation of people that they're talking about. So she's got to do work in her final speeches. And I think she can, but I wonder how good of a speaker Kristen is. We haven't really ever had to see her because she always goes home right before that point. So with all of that being said, I am going up. For me, Kristen deserves the highest score this week because she is playing the best and has good win equity. I'm giving Kristen a 9.
I'm only gonna give Kristen an 8 this week. I'm only going up to an 8 for the reason that I truly think that there is a huge, huge world where Dan and Kristen are the final two, and
Yeah,
I think Dan wins.
I agree with you.
I don't know when anybody is going to be able to take Dan out of the game other than this upcoming week. And if it doesn't happen, I think Dan and Kristen are a likely final two. So
I agree with you fully.
while I do think she is playing the best, I think that Dan also has a very, very good shot to get to the end as well. And I think he wins over almost anybody, if
I
not
agree.
everybody. So that's why I'm only up to an 8. But also, like, I would be so ecstatic if Kristen won the season. And I really am pulling for her too. So
Kristen really needs to win these endgame comps. Like she needs to win these endgame comps.
mhm.
That's what it comes down to. Um, yeah, we'll see.
Okay, Maris.
Um, Truthfully, it doesn't matter what Maris does in this game. I think she has a 2% chance to win this game, and for that reason, I'm giving Maris a 2. Um, she screwed herself. She
Yeah.
absolutely screwed herself. Matthew said in the pre-jury, Anthony is playing everyone. And you know what Maris said? Maris went to Anthony and said, wow, Matthew has zero grasp as to what the structure of this game is. No, Maris, Matthew was exactly right. And while you shouldn't have taken the shot at Anthony then, that was correct. You should not have been telling him all this information because in order for you to do well at all, you need your puppet master out of the game. Because you have like seriously, it seems like no ability to think for yourself, even though you think that you do too. And the jury literally a 0% chance that they respect her game. So even if she gets there, she has to be against like Victoria beats her.
I'm actually gonna give. I'm gonna say the straight face. I was gonna say I'm actually gonna give Maris an 8 this week, but I couldn't do it. Say it with a straight face. Um, so true. I'm also gonna give her a 2. The same. I was thinking about a 3, but I was looking at my score with David, so that's why I was thinking about a 3. But also, if David stayed in the game, he had such a better chance to win the
He
game
had a
over
great chance to win.
instead of Maris. So that's why, like, even though he was evicted, I think Maris deserves the same score as him because
Maris
she's
can't win the game.
so
0% chance. Everyone beats her.
okay. Victoria.
3. Done. I have nothing new to say about her. She literally at the eviction that was very clearly and obviously discussed that David's going home. What happens at the eviction? House guest, it's time to cast your vote. She texts Anthony. Who are we voting out? Oh my god, shut up.
I'm actually going
I'm
down to a 2.
over it.
I'm going down to a 2.
I
Um,
literally, here's the only reason why I have her at a 3 is because she's proven that she can win competitions. And if she gets to the end, there are still people that she can beat. And Burger Queen has like decided that like they're all gonna vote for Burger Queen to win the season. So should one Burger Queen member be there with a non-Burger Queen member, the other 3 Burger Queen votes are gonna go to that person anyway. So that could be 3 votes blocked that she has for her. And Dan for some reason thinks that she's a bigger threat than Anthony, so that's something.
uh,
Delusion.
yeah. So I I don't even want to say I don't see a world where she wins because there is a world where she wins.
Yeah, and that's why I'm still at a 3 because there is a world. There's like very few worlds, but there's one out there.
But also, if it's Anthony and Victoria on the block, I think that Anthony is more capable of saving himself either with a veto or with um his game.
Interesting. I think Victoria's more capable of saving herself with a veto. I think Anthony is more capable of saving himself with this game.
I think that Victoria, well, first of all,
Well, it also depends on the veto.
Anthony did 30 minutes better on the veto yesterday.
I was gonna say, if it's this week, Victoria has a better shot at the veto. If it's any other week, Anthony does.
I don't even know about that. Because okay,
I
here's
think that's a shot.
Anthony.
Victoria
Okay,
won this competition.
Anthony went into yesterday expecting that it was gonna be BB Comics, so he was like, I don't have my notes ready yet. I don't have anything to study for yet, like from yet. He still went in yesterday, and on Zoom, he was like, oh, this is when this happened, right? Oh, Riley was nominated 1, 2. Okay, this was her third time nominated. Like he still did like relatively well yesterday. So I think with these season trivia competitions, Anthony's gonna blow Victoria out of the water, even though somehow she won OTEV. I don't even know how that happened, but I think Anthony knows that this is the time that he needs to study. He's never made it this far in the game before, and I don't think he like realizes how. I mean, he definitely does. I don't think he like fully understands how important knowing the game is for like winning the game. You have to know the game to win the competitions to win the game. And I think he's
That's your Dalton, and he's
um,
not Dalton.
unless you're Dalton. Oh my god, I forgot how good Dalton was. I miss Dalton. Anyway,
Dalton is a top tier, top 3 winner, no doubt. But I'm
okay,
not here to talk about Dalton.
so that's my score, 2.5. Okay, that's it.
So, looking back on the week, Kristen is in the number 1 position with Dan shortly behind. Truly, I think that like they are the odds-on favorites to win the season. I think they're the odds-on favorite to be the final 2.
But I
I
don't
would
want that to
love for
happen.
I want Kristen to slice Dan's throat.
I want Dan to go home this week, and I want Kristen to win.
I don't want Dan to go home because I don't think that Kristen has an easy time getting to the end. I want Kristen to cut Dan at 3. Like that's my hope.
Well, I would love for her to no, I would love for her not to have an easy time and then win. That I don't want her to have an easy road to the end.
Well, define easy. Like this road is as easy as Dalton. No
I
one
think
seems to
she can
have
still
regret right now.
I think she can still get to the end if Dan goes home this week.
I agree.
Because now she's solo.
Yeah,
And
no, I agree. But she should not take the shot at Dan this week. Like if she has
oh
to take a
no, that's not what I'm saying.
yeah.
I'm saying I want Anthony or Victoria to win and send Dan home.
Um,
Or Maris.
yeah, well, either way, Dan and Kristen are the top 2, most likely to be in the end and win. Anthony is in 3rd. I think very high chances to win, but definitely I think personally less likely to be there. And then Haley, who I think has good shot to be there, but very low chances of winning, followed by Victoria and Maris, who really I don't think can win the game, and David, who's out of it. So that is that.
So true.
Second week of Kristen at #1. To that I say slay. And that's all I have.
Her winning would be so good. Anyway.
I personally like Kristen's the one that would make my soul happy if she won.
Yeah.
Dan would make my brain happy. And that's it's a different feeling, you know?
I do. I also still would not be upset with Anthony winning. I don't know.
I don't know. At this current state of the game, I feel sour about Anthony. So
From
if
reading the
not to
jury
crown
chat,
a winner today, I would be upset if Anthony won.
from reading
However,
the jury chat, Matthew
there's still weeks to come, and I agree that he can turn it around.
from
But
reading
the last 2 weeks were bad. So
from reading the jury chat, at least Matthew said like Anthony has it looks like he's been flip-flopping, but he's just been so well connected with all people in the house that he's just smartly choosing the correct people to move forward with, which is like true. So I think the jury actually is very high on Anthony. But
oh, I think the jury is second. Yeah, no, absolutely. I just think that Anthony has a tougher time getting to the end. Unless Dan goes home this week.
yeah.
Alrighty.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
See you soon. Okay, wait, why is it?